Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and the Kia Carnival has actually been with us for quite some time, being previously called the Kia Sedona. But earlier in this decade, we saw Kia give it an entire revitalization and try to go after a certain minivan shopper who didn't necessarily want to be seen driving a minivan. So they gave it this bold, aggressive styling and kind of a, I'm not fully a minivan, I'm an SUV kind of design, while still giving us all the functionality that minivans benefit from. Then last year, we saw an entire revitalization of the styling, so now it's even more aggressive, more bold, if you will, and more fitting with the modern Kia design language, and still full of all the tech and features and functionality that we've come to expect from modern Kia vehicles. If you don't know, Kia has been doing a really great job over the last decade or so of giving you a lot of function for your money, if you will. I'd say that's the best way to go about it with Kia. So I actually wanted to review this specific Carnival because the last one we had a number of years ago in the pre-facelift had their VIP seats in the second row. And while those are cool and fun to mess around with, many mothers have told me that they're not the most functional here in the real world. So this Carnival is the 8-seater package. This one has 3 seats in the third row, 3 seats in the second row, and 2 in the front. As you can see right here, they are quite customizable. We'll talk about that a little bit more here throughout the review. In other markets, you can actually turn all of these seats around, have them kind of face forward and backward, and you can do some slight modifications to make your North American spec do the same thing. But as of now, they essentially just slide back and forth, fold, and are removable. And then the third row pretty much just exists for sitting. Now, I do have a few other videos on this Carnival, so check the link below for our dedicated fuel economy test, where we take it, run at 70 miles per hour for 100 miles, and see what sort of fuel economy that you can expect. We also have a dedicated review of the Bose audio system in this Carnival as well. Now, you can get a hybrid Carnival now as well, but this is just the V6. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, why I actually might recommend getting this one over the hybrid. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about sort of my thoughts between this and the Sienna and Odyssey, both of which I've spent time with over the last year. Need to get in that new Pacifica as well, that facelifted 2027 Pacifica. Really looking forward to that. Now, those of you who watch Daily Motor regularly will know that I've been contextualizing my reviews lately in pros and cons, starting out with about 5 pros and wrapping up with about 5 cons. However, while I was building out that pros and cons list here for the Carnival, I was having a lot of trouble because nearly every pro and every con has a corresponding antithesis, if you will. So every pro was sort of met with a con, and every con was kind of met with a corresponding pro. They weren't really standing out one way or another. So this one's going to be a little bit unique for our recent reviews. The pros and cons are going to be sandwiched together in both a pro and a con. I think you'll see what I mean as we get going here. So first off, the styling. On one hand, it's really cool to have a minivan that sort of stands out and doesn't scream, I'm a minivan. The way they designed the C-pillar here to kind of come down, yeah, they still have the sliding door element. They didn't do anything super special about trying to hide that or anything, which I'm glad they didn't, because it would just add cost and complexity. But you've got the dark wheels and the accents and the lifted roof rails, and again, this big aggressive mug. Let me turn on the daytime running lamps. You can see this SX Prestige model here getting the really bright light. Is this going to do it? Yeah, okay, it's a little hard to see in the bright sunlight here, but there you go. You got the orange markers there. It's a very distinctive look. That being said, I don't know if I love it. I do think it still looks better than the Toyota and the Honda, but it's also not very honest about kind of what it is. I mean, if the way I see it is, if you're buying a van, be honest with yourself. You're getting a minivan. I mean, that's where your life is. That's what's the tool that's going to best benefit your life. So why do we need to pretend that it's something different? So for me, it's a little bit overly styled and kind of a strange combination. I can certainly see why some people would like it. I don't think it's ugly, but it's a conversation piece. The styling, absolutely. Next, the layout and functionality of the Carnival. Again, big pros, big cons. let's pop open the power lift gate here, go from the back, and move our way to the front. This is going to be a very multifaceted point here, because Kia and their corporate cousin Hyundai have been doing a fantastic job in the general product planning realm, if you will. And what I mean by that is, when you spend time in their vehicles, a lot of how you use them and what they do and how they're laid out makes sense. But there's been kind of, again, goods and bads with the Carnival. So perfect example right here. The Carnival has 2 wall style outlets here. However, you'll see they max out at 100 watts. And anybody who knows one thing or another about electricity, 100 watts is not going to power very much. You go ahead and try to put something like an inflator or something like that for a tent, or some sort of bike pump or something like that. There's a decent chance you're not even going to be able to power that with 100 watts. I mean, even the 12 volt outlet here does higher, 180 watts. So I'm glad they at least tell us right off the bat you're only going to get 100 watts out of that. But it's almost like, why even bother? It's a very small amount. I mean, my laptop charger does more than 100 watts running at full tilt. So again, it's there, but a little bit frustrating as well. Some basic functionality. These seats fold right into the floor, very quick and easy, so no complaints there. It's just a little 1, 2, bada bing, bada boom. And then if you remove all the seats, you can get a full flat platform here, which again, if you're picking up large things, something like that, it's going to be very nice to have. However, those seats in the second row are an absolute chore to remove. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much going to be the case for second row seats for any van outside of a Pacifica. But if you do think that you're going to want to have your van in flat mode often, just know that getting these seats out, if you're a smaller individual or weaker individual or some sort of mobility limited, it's going to be very difficult. Other than that, though, the seats do move back and forth pretty standard. You don't have the side-to-side motion that you get from the Odyssey, but you can, in this 3-row or rather 8-seat configuration, you can have this seat kind of flat here, and then you get a little bit of space to put things, just basic hard cup holders. And you can remove this seat. Can't turn it around here in America without some modification, but that's something that you get in some other markets. Love having air vents right above us here. You've got 2 sunroof screens, both manual adjust. Now, in the driver's area, I love the manual adjust. It's super easy for an able-bodied person who's driving the car to just reach up, pull it back. It saves on complexity, and honestly, it's faster than waiting for some button to open it up. However, I'm torn about the second row, because typically it's going to be children in here, either strapped in or small or anything like that. So say you get in the car and you realize this is open and the sun's beaming down on your baby. Well, you've already started driving. You're going to have to stop the car and probably get out. I don't think you're going to be able to reach all the way back here. No, absolutely not. You're going to have to stop the car, get out, come back here, and close it. So I wish they would have, especially in the SX Prestige model here, I wish they had put a power mechanism for this second row roof, or just simply not had it at all. Next, taking a look at this center console area, and it's pretty basic when it comes to storage. I mean, you got a little bit of storage down there. You got another one of these wall style outlets that maxes out at 100 watts, some basic cup holders, but you don't have anything fancy with this center console moving around. You don't have any compartments to put snacks or anything like that. So again, for an SX Prestige model, fairly bare bones and not super creative when it comes to, you know, having little tablet holders or cell phone pockets or anything like that. Let's hop in the third row here briefly and see. Nice quick slide forward, get on and back. And this second row chair goes all the way back here or all the way forward. So if I bring it up, you could even have your baby strapped and be very close up to you in the front. That's kind of nifty. So then getting into the third row, incline it back a little bit. You do have little third row sunshades. Those are nice. USB-C port. This is about what I would expect for a third row. Just some places to put things, places to plug in a device, little means of sitting out, and you still get air vents back here. So very nice third row, and even with that second row seat pushed all the way back, myself as an adult could sit back here, no problem. And then we come up into the front, and again, it's this mixed bag of some very smart and useful and helpful functionality, and then some frustrations. So we start up the car. We're greeted with a single piece of glass up here in front of us, for the infotainment and for your gauge cluster. It gives you straightforward information. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Very nice to have that there. Also love the physical controls right up here in front of us. You've got real physical buttons on the steering wheel, real physical buttons down here, even things like 2-stage heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats that are very easy to operate with these toggles. But then your climate controls up here are a shared screen with your audio and media controls. So right now we're in climate mode. It's all these touch sensitive buttons, so tap around, fairly easy to do while you're static. But then if you click this, then it changes over to functionality for your infotainment system for buttons right there, changing tracks or getting quickly to media, map, etc. And then that also changes the functionality of these knobs. So right now it's adjusting volume. If I click this, now it's adjusting temperature. Kia's been doing this in a lot of their larger vehicles recently, and I understand it's kind of this clever way to sort of give you real physical controls, but also clean up the center interior. It's fine. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I do know it's been a deal breaker for others in my life who have recently purchased minivans. Also, everything's so far away that if I'm sitting here at a safe driving position and got my arms out and everything like that, I have to lean off my seat back just to change climate control, or even worse, to touch the screen. So from a general comfort and ease of use perspective, this isn't the easiest cockpit to use despite so many great physical controls. And then we get to this shifter. On one hand, I get it. They want to appeal to people who like to get in, feel like they're in a big SUV, grab this big, meaty shifter, throw it down into drive. However, it takes up a ton of valuable real estate here in the center console that could be used for snacks, books, road trip paraphernalia, whatever it is. I would much rather see the clever column shifter that we're getting in a lot of vehicles, or even buttons like we get in the Honda, as opposed to taking up valuable real estate here. And then on top of that, you look around, there's not a ton of places to put things. You got a wireless device charger here, which on one hand is very smart. It's grippy and raised, so it's going to keep your phone decently cool as you're driving around and charging it. But then you've got another spot here that's not super deep, but maybe your other phone could go there. Very nicely sized cup holders. Small bit of storage here, which is not grippy. And then a basic center console with no shelf or anything like that. Ton of wasted space down there. Limited door pocket space, and you're not getting a water bottle in the door pocket. No space up here in front of the passenger. And again, very minimal space back around here. No secret hidden cubbies or anything like that, unless they're so hidden that I haven't found them. This is a family hauler. This is a vehicle that's going to be used to be putting a ton of stuff in, and tissues and books and toys, and I know a lot of people, especially mothers, they just like to have stuff in the car that goes with them all the time for kind of in case you need it sort of situations. This isn't a super functional and large area. Now, I don't think the Sienna is any better, but the Odyssey, I would argue, has the best center console layout for putting a whole bunch of stuff. And again, I haven't been in a Pacifica for a while, but I remember it being quite good as well. So Kia does a great job in certain elements of physical controls, fantastic, ease of use, great, whatever. But then also frustrating that we're not getting a lot more functionality and usability out of this interior that is supposed to be such a usable sort of utility vehicle. Okay, on to the powertrain. Shift it into gear, head out with this 3.5 liter V6 engine, naturally aspirated, no electrification, front wheel drive, and an 8-speed automatic transmission. Again, pros and cons on both sides, because I like that this is an under-stressed, powerful, simple and straightforward V6 engine. That's great. Some of you might say, oh, well, you should get the hybrid or this, that, or the other. You realize that little hybrid's a much smaller engine. You're dealing with electrification, you're dealing with forced induction, and you're dealing with less power. So in the real world, just driving around day-to-day use, and then also for very long-term longevity, this is actually the powertrain I would go with. Yeah, it's not going to be saving you a ton of money at the pump, especially if you're doing a lot of city driving. But it's going to save you money in the long run, because we've got both direct and multi-port injection, which means that you're not going to have a bunch of carbon buildup issues with this engine. It's straightforward, it's simple. 3.5 liter V6s, when naturally aspirated, are some of the most reliable engines on the market. So again, I'm torn. I do like how in the Sienna you just get basic, straightforward electrification and great fuel economy in all versions. But then on the other hand, you've got more complexity, more weight, and you don't get that nice, simple, tried and true V6. And then there's the front wheel drive element. For most drivers, front wheel drive's gonna be plenty fine. Even if you live somewhere where you get snow, throw some snow tires on there in the winter, or winter tires rather, or even some good cross climate 2s or something like that. You're gonna be plenty fine. Would I appreciate if all-wheel drive were an option? Sure. But again, it keeps the cost down and keeps simplicity to just have one method of driving the wheels. Now that being said, the fact that this is front wheel drive only, you would think they'd have more room in here to make a more functional center console, because you don't have to worry about any drivetrain going through there. So again, so many pros and cons, kind of battling it out. However, I will say, 8-speed automatic transmission, that's pretty undeniable. I say that is the best number of gears in a modern vehicle right now. Good old 8 speeds, give me that all day, love it. Next one, the pricing. On one hand, this is the most affordable minivan that you can get here in North America, or at least the United States of America. I'm not sure about our Canadian and Mexican neighbors. However, when you're stepping all the way up to something like this SX Prestige, you're looking about $52,000, $53,000 or so, you do start to get in the same realm of modestly equipped Odysseys and Siennas. In fact, I think the Odyssey might even really give this one a run for its money. Now you're not getting the same sort of technology in that car. A lot of what the Kia does is more impressive or more fully fitted out than the comparably priced Japanese minivan. However, there's definitely a solidness and a confidence in engineering that you get out of a Honda or a Toyota minivan that, I'm sorry to say, but Kia just has not proven itself in yet. Now, yes, I've heard a lot of great things about this 3.5 V6. I've heard a lot of great things about the Carnival in general. There are a lot of Sedonas still on the road. But go on whatever your favorite method of looking up used cars for sale and see how many high mileage Siennas and Odysseys are out there. Kia just does not have the track record yet, especially when you're coming off of models like their Theta engines or something like that blow up at 100,000 miles. So it's just it's hard to tell. It's hard to argue. It's hard to have any sort of solid data that would say this is going to be as reliable as a comparable Sienna or Odyssey. Is it worth spending more to get less with some of those cars? It's really tough for me as a reviewer to answer that question. The best way I've come up with an answer is, if you're somebody who doesn't plan on owning a car for more than 5 to 7 years, if that's kind of when you like to switch it up, don't put on a ton of miles necessarily, you still take good care of your cars, and you like having as much tech for as affordable as a price, I would say an SX Prestige model of a Carnival is a better buy than something like a Sienna or an Odyssey. But if you're someone who cares less about all the gizmos and gadgets in your car and you just want something that's going to reliably start up with basic straightforward maintenance for the next 20 years, get yourself a modestly spec'd Odyssey or Sienna for the same cost. Something just like an XLE Sienna. It's not going to have nearly as much fun inside of it, going on the whole Carnival name there, but it's going to be about the same price, and it's going to be a more straightforward ownership experience for decades and decades to come. And that leads me a little bit into the final pro and con, the warranty. Kia will give you a 100,000 mile, 10-year powertrain warranty on the Carnival and a 5-year, 60,000 mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. That means if you're a new owner of this car, you're going to get a longer period of peace of mind for any sort of defects or issues with your car than a comparable Toyota, Honda, or Chrysler. However, there have been many reports online of Kia making it not easy to fully take advantage of that warranty. If you haven't done meticulous maintenance, if it's a certain issue that's not kind of fits just into the specifications of the warranty, you're going to have to fight in order to get it covered. Then on top of that, if you're not the first owner, if you go to sell this car or anything, that warranty drops down to exactly what the other competitors offer. 5 years, 60,000 miles for powertrain, 3-year, 36,000 miles for bumper to bumper. So again, is it a more impressive warranty for the new owner? Yes. However, is there a caveat to it? Yes. So, Do I like the Carnival? Yes, I do. Do I think it's appropriately priced and nice to drive and nice to be in? Yeah, I do. I like this car. The complaints I have about it are, I wouldn't say deal breakers. They're all things that can be improved upon. I'd say the closest that comes to a deal breaker is just the general interior layout in here. I'm thinking, I mean, I am a father. I do have an child and wife, and I would want a little bit more from the functionality inside this vehicle. And again, minivans are vehicles that are bought typically to be owned for a long period of time. And I could see some growing pains in this one and some frustrations of not having as many places to put things. That's the closest I could see to a deal breaker for me here on the Kia Carnival. So with that, we do need to come to a stop here and put the Carnival on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. Current leaders on the DM Leaderboard: Kia K4, Tesla Model 3, and there's that Toyota Sienna right now sitting in third place. I'm going, I would say right below the Hyundai Ioniq 9. Right now we're sitting in sixth place here for the Carnival. Again, a lot of good with this car, but still some quirks, still some aspects that if I were buying a van for a long period of time, I think I would consider some of the other options. But if you love the styling, if you love the price, if you love the functionality, go for it. It's a good car. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Kia Carnival, check the link below, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.